Itadori and then there's Sukuna, and Sukuna's inside of Itadori, and there's this concept within psychology where, and maybe you've heard of it, maybe you are familiar with it. If you are, awesome. If not, no worries. But I just wanted to touch on this. So like our minds have like the subconscious, and then they also have the conscious, or you could also look at it as the lower mind and the higher mind. And I guess this could be more looked at and seen as in terms of like, so we have the subconscious is big, so it's like sub, and then we have just like our conscious mind. So like our conscious mind is here. It's the same thing for like the higher mind. So like if we have this is the higher mind, and then this is the lower mind. And I apologize for my poor handwriting. But like, so this is the crazy part, and this is what I've been trying to figure out and work through, and I'm hopefully going to work through it in this video. I figured this is my way of how I'd be able to work through thoughts and ideas, and I like being able to use anime references just because I watched the anime and I'm like, I'm watching this anime for a reason. So there's probably some truth behind this thing that I'm saying or within the creation of this anime, and I was thinking about this on my walk that I was on the other day because there's this line or this aspect from this guy that talks, it's William Donahue, which if you want to watch any of his stuff online, he goes more into like the meaning of the Bible and the creation of what we see around our world. And I see anime or characters or movies and TV shows as ways for us to relay certain types of information in a way that makes a little bit more sense to our own mind and our own understanding. Whereas like you can listen to something like this right now or something like him where it's just like it's a different concept. So there's this line that he says, and I'm hoping it's going to get picked up, but I'm pretty sure this is kind of a concept that I was relaying a little bit.
The conceptions that you have of yourself are locked in what is called the subconscious mind.
So what he says right there is the conceptions of yourself are locked within the subconscious mind. So this is where I've been thinking, I'm like, okay, well, who is which one? Like, is Itadori the subconscious, or is he the conscious, or is Sukuna the subconscious and Itadori is the subconscious? I think I said that right. Like Itadori is the subconscious, or is he the conscious, or is Sukuna the subconscious and then Itadori is the conscious? Like which one is which? Because like it's locked within our own mind, and this is exactly what we see in this scene right here is like Itadori is in his own mind talking to Sukuna, talking to his, let's say, subconscious, because I feel like Sukuna is so much more powerful than Itadori, and this is an aspect that I think Itadori is afraid of, and why he's able to control Sukuna is because he's under the impression of like Sukuna is this all-powerful being, and he's afraid of what will happen if he does give Sukuna control, or if Itadori found his true strength, his true potential, and unlocked it within himself, then what would happen to the world? Because like if we remember in the back of JUJ Kaizen, JUJUTSUKISEN, SUK, destruction, STRDESTRUSC, destruction. So like if we remember this at the end of like season 2 with Shibuya, and like how Itadori comes and he sees like all the destruction that Sukuna ended up doing, and he's just like, oh crud. Like that would be a frightful thing to know what happens when like your subconscious ends up taking over, and like it's just like, wow, I'm way more powerful than all of these other things that I've ever had in my entire life, and I'm afraid to be able to explore that level of like true power and strength. And that's where I say like our subconscious, like the subconscious is only like receiving the orders from the conscious mind, just as the higher mind is also just receiving the orders from the lower mind, but the higher mind knows the better way to be able to achieve what needs to be achieved, just as like the subconscious knows the better way of what needs to be achieved more than the conscious mind does. So that's where I say like Itadori being able to control Sukuna can be one of the most beneficial things that he's able to do. And there's probably something later in the manga, I haven't read up to that point, where he is able to control him and use his strength in a more powerful, meaningful way than he ever was able to use it beforehand too, which to me, I'm like, okay, well, that's pretty interesting. Like he's able to unlock these different potentials, because if you're able to unlock your potential of like understand how the subconscious mind works and how the conscious mind works, or how like the higher and the lower mind work together, then you can start to use those to your benefit. You can start to give your higher mind, your subconscious, your Sukuna, full reign over the control and the powers that you want them to give control over. Yet if you haven't negotiated a deal or made something that is understandable to the both of you, then it's just like, well, what's the point of me giving you control or giving you all this strength or this power that I have within myself that I've been able to develop over the millennium, just because like you need this little thing. Like, are you actually truly strong enough and capable enough to be able to wield the power that I have given to you? So you're always being tested. You're always being given these different ideas that you might not have originally been given in the first place. And when I think about those things, it's like, okay, so all Itadori has to do is be able to become strong enough, and then he just integrates himself with Sukuna. And then Sukuna, you could be like, well, okay, well, if he's integrating himself with Sukuna, wouldn't Sukuna just take over Itadori? And since I haven't read the manga, this is just my way of being able to associate what you can do with your own subconscious or your own Sukuna within your own self, because you do have an all-powerful being within you. There probably have been times in your life where you've done things that have just like magically flown in the ways that you've wanted them to flow in, and you don't even think about it after the fact. It's just like, oh, this is just what happens. And that is when Sukuna ends up taking over. Obviously, there is no massive amounts of damage that do come with those type things, but it's just like this true strength, this true power that you didn't necessarily know was within yourself starts to become free. And when I think about those things, I'm like, okay, well, this is interesting. So all I have to do is be able to level myself up to a point to where I have the strength and I can use or wield the strength that my subconscious mind truly has. And a lot of the things that we have had have been pre-programmed, because we've been pre-programmed to believe that Sukuna, our subconscious, is negative, is bad, is trying to cause harm. When what if in actuality, Sukuna, your subconscious, your higher mind, is trying to lead you down the path that you need to be led down. It's trying to help you out in the best ways that they can help you out in. And by you trying to fight that and trying to be like, oh no, I need to be the one that remains in control. And this is where I say, like, yes, you are still in control, but like give them and allow your subconscious, allow your Sukuna to be able to take over that possession within yourself. So then like it's not necessarily their mind that's taking over, because like you're still in control. It's kind of like what we saw in solo leveling, which I can do a video on that later as well too, but that was something that just popped in. And if that's something that is like, and that's where I say, like, being able to understand where the power is coming from, who's wielding the power, like who's truly the one in charge. And maybe there's this aspect that Itadori is afraid of, and why he's also able to handle Sukuna is because he knew inherently within himself that he had this strength, he had this determination, he had this resolve to be able to do these miraculous strong things, yet he was always selling himself short until he ended up unlocking his subconscious mind and being able to be like, oh wow, I can actually be this powerful and I still have control over my subconscious, but whenever I need to call upon it, they're there because like they're the things that are there. Like if we remember at the end of season 2 when like Itadori's on his last leg and then they feed him all the fingers for Sukuna, like he loses possession of himself for a little while, but then he's able to regain control. And maybe there's that fear within yourself, whereas if you let somebody else come to you or work through you, you're never going to have that same level of control that you once did. I know I've been afraid of that. I was crying about that the other day, where I was like, I'm afraid that like what will happen if I truly show my own strength, if I truly become Sukuna in a sense, what will happen? Like, will my other version, will Itadori die with me in me? And that's where I'm like, well, no. Like, all we have to do is we just have to unlock or open up the ability to connect these two together. So now instead of the subconscious and the conscious being separate, or the higher and the lower mind being separate, now at this point in time, we're one and the same. We've connected together to become one. And I like that way of viewing the world a lot more than like trying to fight one another. It's just like, well, we both have strengths. We both have desires. We both have needs. How can we negotiate this to have an equal exchange so that when we need each other, we'll be in this together. Like, we both have the power, we both have the ability to defeat, we both have the power to grow, we both have the power to transform. We're both clearly strong, because clearly I can hold you back and you're like the strongest curse that's ever existed. And then it's also like, but then I can also save you, because like your body is weak and fragile in the ways that like mine isn't, and I can create these things out of thin air that you can't. So it's just like, what if we start to work together as a combined unit, and instead of trying to fight one another, we start to accept one another? Because once we accept one another's for our own aspects of our own self, then we can start to become free. We can start to become strong. We don't have to fear the strength that lies within us, because I know I've been afraid of the strength that has lied within me, and I don't want to. I didn't. That's a clear clarification that I want to make right now, is I didn't want to rely on that strength within me, because I wanted to be like Itadori. I just wanted to sit out on the side and just be like happy-go-lucky type of thing, and realize that like, oh, maybe there is this catastrophe that could happen. But like after the end of the episode, when he was able to realize, end of season 2, where he was able to realize that he is like Mahito, just different, he's like, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to accept my strength. I'm going to accept that Sukuna's a part of me, and I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to do something to make sure that I can become strong enough to be able to incorporate him into myself, because I know what is possible now that I have seen like him in action. It's like, okay, well, if he was able to do that in my body within myself, then that means that I have this exact same power to do this exact same thing as well too. And now I can become as strong as him. And then we can integrate ourselves together to be able to save the world in a more positive way instead of having to be somebody that like steps back and doesn't allow for this growth to happen. Because like once you understand your consciousness and your subconscious and your ability to think and your ability to manifest and your ability to create out of nothingness, then all of a sudden you start to have this world that didn't originally exist, which I find that to be very fascinating and exciting. And I just wanted to let you know that like you have this strong aspect within yourself that you weren't necessarily aware of or didn't necessarily know existed until now. But like that's why you watch the anime. Like that's why we've always watched the anime. That's why we've always enjoyed the shows that we enjoy, is because we see ourselves or we see these characters within each other. And that's why I say like conscious, subconscious, all powerful, can be all powerful if they integrate with the subconscious. That's why we have to be able to do this and kind of get out of the way of our subconscious so that then the vessel, the conscious, can just do the things and rationalize it in whatever way that it needs to. But once we do that, then we start to become free. We start to open up different avenues. We start to explore in different ways than we were able to explore in the first place. And if these are things that interest you, these topics, these ideas, or if you're just wanting to understand these in a more cohesive manner, I do offer personal coaching, which you can schedule a call down below. It is $150, and you may be like, that's a lot for an hour, but it's just like I've been spending my past 10 years studying this and being able to acquire this information, this knowledge to help you out in the ways that you're wanting to be helped out in, because I will just be a reflection of you. I'll be able to help you unlock your true strengths of whatever that may be. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can book a call and we'll just accept the payment as soon as we get on, and then we'll get started. We can always do more and more as we go along, but I just want to toss that out there for you if you are interested in it. Otherwise, you can keep coming back and watching these videos, because I talked about that in the video the other day where like all of this should be free, and everything is free. It's just a matter of, do you want to accelerate your timing to be able to get to where you want to get to, or do you want to enjoy the journey? And I mean, you can do both. I've done both. It's just something that I've come to realize, like this took me years to come to this realization, and I've been thinking about it a lot more, and I'll probably even find this down even more as the time goes on. But like Itadori, he's the conscious. Sukuna, he's the subconscious. Give power over to the subconscious, and you'll start to see miracles start to happen when you start to just like imagine it, believe it to be true, feel the feeling of it, because there's this one line that I want you to remember. Circumstances don't matter. Only your state of being matters. So as long as you are strong and capable and willing to be able to embrace your hardships or whatever it may be that's standing in your way, you'll be able to level up, and you can start to use your inner self, and not even use your inner self, but like you can start to integrate your inner self, so you can start to impact and inspire, which I have another videos coming up around that, others, so that they can start to live their fullest life. And if that's something that you want to do, by all means, you just got to start. Like that's all it is. It's that simple. Just take that first step. What happens from there? And don't be afraid of your true power, your own strength, because you have the power, you have the strength, you have the resolve, you have the determination, you have the emotional stability, you have the strength, you have the potential, you have the knowledge, you have the expertise, you have the confidence, you have the conviction, you have the clarity, you have the abundance, you have the power, you have the magic, you have the strength, you have everything that you have ever needed to be able to succeed in the ways that you want to succeed in. Now it's just a matter of you taking that first step. You take that first step, watch all the miracles start to happen. It's what I've done with this channel. It's what I've done with other channels. It's what I do with every single interaction and conversation that I have with anybody, is I take that first step and I make small little adjustments and iterations as we go. That's why there's so many different ways of me being able to create the content, and why I like making daily content for you. Because when the inspiration strikes, you guys, the inspiration strikes. When the subconscious wants to share the idea, when Sukuna wants to come out and play, we got to let him come out and play. So with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video, and I appreciate you sticking to the end. So thank you.